Thank you very much. Last but not least, we're back on our alphabetical order. WSP, Heatherwick Studios, B&M Architects, J.K. MM Architects, Space Syntax, Helsinki University, A.A. Palmberg, Pekka Himenen, Pauli Aalto-Setälä.
Thanks, Marco. 5 minutes. It's a bit like speed dating, and I'm the last one on the dance floor with all my colleagues who are sitting down. Okay. Thanks. Oh. Right. Well, we basically had 3 main objectives. But before I go into that, I'd say that we've had enormous fun doing this competition. And I would say the reason we've had so much fun is that there is nobody else framing the problem or the issue or the opportunity quite like Citra is. And that's a genuine belief. So we were very happy and privileged to be involved in this. We really think this is going to be something of global significance. All right, we had 3 main objectives. The first really was to create a replicable DNA of a new low-to-no carbon urbanism, which was based on what we term our Helsinki principles that we derived through the project. The second objective was to try and create a new kind of architectural language within Helsinki, an architecture which has the ability to transform and delight and excite. And then the third thing was really to try and create carbon-active citizenship and governance structures for Helsinki. So we looked mainly at 5 principal areas. We looked at evidence-based thinking. We took a life cycle approach to carbon. We looked at the power to transform the city. We looked at the fundability model. And then we looked at carbon-free energy. Now, this is just an example behind me of some of the evidence-based thinking. The kind of things we wanted to do was really not create an island of excellence divorced from the city, but to understand how Low2No could actually help Helsinki become more efficient and reduce emissions. So we did a bunch of analysis, and we discovered things, for instance, that a lot of the waste heat in the summer from co and trigen gets used for creating district cooling, which can drive an air-conditioned approach to an architectural language in response to what do you do with waste heat. So we started to take those kind of ideas and deliberately see how we could use waste heat from the city in a positive way within the development. So it's very important that it links into what's there, and we spent a number of times around that. Now, the thing that we locked on very quickly were what we call the vision themes, which then generated a series of principles. I won't go into them in detail, but some of the themes were to retell this story around a new language. So generative and healing. Generative in the sense that the building needs to generate energy sufficient for its own needs, and healing in the sense that it needs to improve environmental quality and also deal with some of the waste heat issues from the city. Cradle of innovation, economic and value creation. We identified and we spoke and tested this with a number of developers who identified a number of areas in the successful delivery that would need to be de-risked. Some of these relate to planning policy in relation to perhaps giving a designation on multiple use, which will give developers an opportunity to change from residential to commercial depending on how the market goes, or some of it has to do with net to gross areas and so on and so forth. So there was an analysis around that, transforming leadership by example. It's really important that this thing actually happens and people can understand it, and then sustaining through the generations a big social program as part of the theme. So this was a view at night. So broadly speaking, we wanted to create a street life in the middle of winter that didn't need any. This is like a public forum of ideas, cradle of innovation. This thing is about learning and coming and seeing things in practice. So we created what we thought was a new public space, which happened to be clustered around buildings which would allow people to come and visit in the winter, and it would have zero carbon penalty. So the building uses half the energy, it's twice as efficient. It takes, for example, areas of kind of urban horticulture and agriculture as a learning exercise on the roof. It's seamlessly connected to Helsinki and to the world, and we looked at IT systems and we looked at the physical interactions and so on. So there were a variety of things that we looked at. In developing the model, we tested the principles and came up with variant proposals. This is one example, and we found we kept coming back to the same broad-based clusters. One example of where we thought innovation should happen is it's important to see if we can make solar technology viable in the Nordic regions. So we deliberately tested what would be an energy positive building based on renewable energy systems and what available yields would be from that. And so this was sort of some of the analysis from there. It's important that Helsinki, I think, and Finland can actually understand how these solar technologies work in the region. So we tested that. It's clearly not isolated, otherwise you tend to get this island effect. So we were looking at viable site-wide strategies. We confined our analysis on the site to look at geothermal reserves, district heating and cooling loops, biomass, and a variety of things. But what we got to from a variety of our study is what we call the carbon balance. So today there's 11.3 tons. That's red. We might call that carbon indifferent citizens. And then we identified what that was made up of. About more than half of it was really made up of lifestyle carbon. These are things directly outside the remit of the building: embodied energy, carbon in use, and then lifestyle carbon. So we developed a program around how we tackled the difficult issue around carbon in behavior. And then we looked at a transition to get to a 2.7 tons. That's a stabilized climate, and that's what we call carbon aware. And that gets to a certain point, and then the green man on the right is what we call carbon active. That's where we get into a carbon neutral situation. That is the limit of what Low2No can do. The city of Helsinki needs now, at that point, to get into low carbon, to contribute a certain amount of what we call city carbon to actually achieve the no balance. So we've pushed as far as we think is reasonable at this scale, and then we've identified what we think what the city needs to do in turn to pick that up. So lifestyle stuff, we were kind of very interested with how you disseminate this. We had storyboards going through the day in the life. We were looking at new products for Nokia in terms of personal handhelds, giving you scanners and allowing you to make consumer choices around up-to-date carbon information. We thought that actually some of this, for instance, would be related to a web portal here, which might actually have utility carbon, mobility carbon, food carbon, work products, and so on. So these are the sort of things that we would see would be the enabling stuff to help support some of the lifestyle issues. Finally, we were really interested in what would happen if we speculated that the Low2No carbon urbanism principles were rolled out across Helsinki and Finland. And we took a 100-year timeline, really moving from our carbon balance of lifestyle building and embodied carbon over there on the right-hand side, and we assumed population growth, and we assumed 1% building renewal, and we assumed 1% refurbishment of existing building stock. And so we got to the point where we felt by 2050, which is when Finland has committed to decarbonize its grid, we really wanted to see if by adopting Low2No principles, could you redirect some of the capital spend that might go into, say, nuclear or whatever it may be, to achieve that. So we wanted to know at the level of policy and strategy from Low2No where that could get us to. And so, is there a... Hang on, how does that go? Oh, now, what have I done?
That wasn't me, Peter.
I thought that was a laser pointer. That's deeply disappointing because we were going to get all very excited about that. But broadly speaking, we think that Low2No deployed out on those incremental renewal phases could probably reduce the carbon emissions of Helsinki by about 53% by about the year 2050. So we think that's quite significant. That clearly now puts us in the realm of where you go beyond a building project and you're into strategy and policy and planning formation. So what we've done as well, based on that, is we've made some indicative suggestions for where we think the benefits would be by extending that into other areas. So that's broadly, I think, am I 5 minutes and over?
A couple seconds, just right on time. So
thank you.
Very much, Peter. Thanks. So thank you, and thank you to the 5 teams. I mean, I hope you share with me that the work that you saw here, the ideas you saw here, are absolutely terrific. Not just because they're interesting, but because these are absolutely essential things we need to deal with. Let me just share a few things, and it's difficult after such great riveting presentations to kind of try to bring this to some conclusion and get us to maybe a little more casual environment. We started talking about systemic change and the large-scale challenges that we're faced. We're faced in the world and we're faced here in Finland. And sustainability is one of them. We know people are aging in Finland, but sustainability is also one of them. Don't be fooled by looking around and seeing pretty trees and nice lakes, because sustainability is certainly one of our biggest challenges for many reasons, for the way we make decisions internally, but because we're also connected to the world. So I think we need to take this on, and I think it needs vision. I think we need to then understand the principles, and here you've heard 5 teams talk about the principles that govern this ecosystem of decision making. And then we have to have leadership. I'm a very lucky person. I have a terrific job. I've had great opportunity working with 5 teams, and I got a great family, and I have a 11-month-old daughter who's just learning how to talk. And so her first words aren't daddy or mommy, Anna, right? Give. And so she points at things. And what's terrific about kids is this desire to learn, desire to suspend disbelief and learn. And so I think leadership is also, in a certain way, suspending disbelief about how we do things today and actually wanting to learn what the principles are in taking leadership in that sense. I hope you are on this journey with us to create a sort of new class of clients. We are a new class of clients. And I hope the 5 teams are here, are assets for you, and I hope that our project is well beyond this one block. I think in 10 years, if we talk about systemic change and we've done one city block out of this collective knowledge, I think we've failed. But if in 10 years we've helped advance this theme, principles, and body of knowledge in Finland and leverage our opportunity in Finland, then I think we've collectively succeeded. So I'll end with these sort of broader words, and I'll turn this into something a little more entertaining and fun. We're going to turn around in just a second and go into the hall behind you. We have, I think, some nice white wine, I believe some great red wine, and something to eat, and most importantly, the opportunity to interact with your teams. We'll go there in just a second. In about 30 minutes, we will have the Hannu Penttilä City Mayor for Planning, Deputy Mayor for Planning, announce the competition results, following which I will say a few words on behalf of the jury and of Sitra. But I hope you'll join us for a little glass of wine and continue this discussion. Thank you.